Once upon a midnight dreary, while I checked my crypto weak and weary over many a tier for the volume of forgotten crypto lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping as of someone gently rapping on my door. "'Tis some bull run," I muttered, tapping on my door. "Only bears and nothing more." And now Ravencoin today was sitting with Tron Black, the lead developer, rapping at our door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a programmer that is dreaming, and the code all him streaming throws his brilliance here before. And the coin from out that shadow that we shall today learn some more is here on Bad Crypto episode number 233, Forevermore.
Our deepest and sincere apologies to Edgar Allen Poe.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
And welcome to the Bad Poetry Crypto Podcast here. Joel Comm and Travis Wright. We are not poets. And I don't know about you, Travis, but I don't even have a great respect for poetry. Sorry, not sorry.
Well, I think back in the day, before YouTube and, 300 channels of television, people read more. I don't know if you knew that. But poems, I guess, were a big thing. There
once was a man from Nantucket.
Yeah.
I'm just a commoner when it comes to poetry.
It's so fancy, and they're using all these words. A lot of times they're using words that don't really, we don't use anymore, right? And so a lot of poetry is sort of challenging for most people to sort of understand. But then again, if you studied lots and lots of poetry in college, like, what kind of job does that allow you to have today? I guess maybe creative writing. There's a lot of copywriting that needs to happen today. So probably maybe a copywriter. You can certainly gain inspiration from many a thing, Mr. Joel Comm.
You could not like poetry and still respect those who do like it. And so
Poe was creepy, though. Poe was creepy. There was some of the short story was like, whoa, dude.
Mm-hmm. The Cask of Amontillado. Yeah, good stuff. Anyhow, we're glad you guys are here, and that's about as creepy as it's going to get, because when we talk about Ravencoin today, I don't think there is a single reference to Edgar Allen Poe in our interview with Tron Black, but we're still going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about Digitex, because they are sponsoring this show, and by now, if you haven't gone to digitexfutures.com, I'm wondering, what the heck? Why not? Answer me.
Really? Yes, answer him right now. Over 850,000 people have gone there, Mr. Joel Comm.
I think it's 950,000, isn't it?
Is it now? Man,
I thought it was.
Keeps growing. I guess the next time we talk to Adam Scott, it'll be well over 1 million. Yeah. But this is a revolutionary trading platform that's eliminating all transaction fees, as well as withdrawal and deposit fees. And so if they're able to deliver as they are promising, which they're pretty confident on, it should be a game changer in the futures market. So you can go to digitexfutures.com/buy-DGTX. That will tell you all you need to know about scoring yourself some of that.
Didn't we have a short link set up for this? I think it was badco.in/futures as well. So it's all in the show notes here, and badco.in/233, where you can link to it. I know that they are starting with beta with a handful of people that signed up, and anticipate rolling out to the public in the second quarter of 2019. So
that is exactly it. badco.in/futures.
Now
you get early access. I know.
Quoth Travis Wright. Let's move on to our feature with Tron Black of Ravencoin. You may or may not have heard of a project out there called Ravencoin. Well, if you hadn't, now you have. It's a blockchain platform optimized for transferring assets, such as tokens, from one holder to another, your peer-to-peer model. It's a fork based on the Bitcoin code, but there's some key changes to it, and we're going to learn about it today as we speak with the lead developer for Ravencoin, Mr. Tron Black. How you doing, Tron?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good. And is your rapper name T-Ron?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Wait a second. I'm actually confused by this, because whenever we had the show notes set up, it said Tron Black and then Ravencoin. And I was like, whoa, so Ravencoin is changing its name to Tron Black? It's like Bitcoin Gold? I was confused, and that's your actual name. So it's excellent to meet you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. So, yeah, my actual name, my father was a chemical engineer, and so it came from electron, and he took the Tron part. So I predate the movie by a little bit.
You predate the movie as well. That's awesome. I bet you had some fun with that when that came out.
Yeah, I did. No royalties have come my way. I'm not sure what happened.
Did you get any Tron tokens, though, whenever that happened?
So I do own some Tron tokens. I had to do it. I've gotten some criticism, but I don't regret it. So
that's good.
All right, so let's talk about Ravencoin then. The symbol for the token is RVN. What is this thing that you and your team have built?
Sure. So it was actually the brainchild of Bruce Fenton, and then he talked to Patrick Byrne, the CEO of Overstock, and they talked together. And Patrick said, "Well, I have some developers and some guys in Medici Ventures that could probably help with this." And so we basically came up with the ideas and how to put it together and what coin to fork and how we assemble assets, the ability to create assets on top of a UTXO-based coin. And so that's how Ravencoin was born.
Well, this is interesting because we just had Rachel Wolfson just did an interview with Bruce. That's just on an episode that just came out. And I think it is important to note that neither Mr. Travis Wright nor myself are holding any Ravencoin. I'm assuming you're not, Trav, but tell me if you are.
I'm not. But this is really interesting because, we've been in the process here over the past few months of, whenever we launched the show back in July of 2017, shortly thereafter, we launched Badcoin. And Badcoin, we launched it on the BitShares platform, and it was just a joke. But here recently, we've been building it out, and one of the things that we've noticed is it's kind of similar to what you guys are doing because it looks like with Ravencoin, you guys have a 21 billion coin supply, and it's also ASIC resistant because you didn't want a whole bunch of people out there, getting, mining all the cryptos.
Yeah,
right?
we wanted to keep it, as decentralized, more of a people's coin as much as possible. And then also, if we'd launched it on SHA-256 Bitcoin, it would have been just, destroyed right at the beginning as somebody threw a few major machines at it. So we actually rewrote, we actually put mining back into the software. So we pulled mining back in, and we actually changed the proof of work algorithm is unique as well.
Is it faster than Bitcoin?
So the speed is just a choice, and so our choice was 1 minute blocks. So from that perspective, yes, it's faster. So we have Bitcoin has 10-minute blocks. We have 1 minute blocks, so it's faster that way. We did up the block size to 2 megabytes. So we're about 20x the transaction capacity of Bitcoin, with the ability to move up more if we need it. But right now, that's not our concern.
Very cool. So what is the X16R algorithm? You wrote an algorithm paper around this, and you guys designed the currency around that. Is that sort of the slowing down the computers or whatever so people can't go crazy with the mining?
Yeah, so the main reason for it was to keep it somewhat ASIC resistant. I wouldn't call it ASIC proof, but we do have a kind of a statement out there that if we see an ASIC, we're going to change the algorithm. But what we did was we took one of the things that we were doing to try and look at ASIC resistance was to say, hey, can we just modify the algorithm, periodically to kind of make it so that if you did build an ASIC, we just obsolete it. And as we were talking through that, we said, yeah, we can change the algorithm, but if no one knows what's coming, that would be problematic. And then we said, well, what if you used something from the chain, the chain blocks before, to decide which algorithm to use. And we said, well, we could even use the previous block and change the algorithm order every block. And so that's what we did. So if you're familiar with Dash is X11, which is 11 hashing algorithms in a row where it puts one hash into the next and the next until it runs through all 11. Then you look at the result at the end to see if it's a low number. So we did something similar, only we did 16 algorithms. But every block, we rotate the order it goes through those algorithms based on the hash of the previous block, which of course isn't predictable. It changes every block, and you can't predict it in advance. And so it's been really interesting. We were able to CPU mine for about a month, And then the GPU guys finally got in there, and there was, for a while, for about 2 months, there was kind of this weird hybrid of like some of the algorithms were GPU, some were CPU, and it was bouncing back and forth. And then finally they got them all on GPU. That's the reason we did it, was to kind of keep it the people's coin and keep it distributed.
So you still have to have a GPU. So if you're trying to mine with the CPU, you're probably not going to be able to mine a whole lot, right?
Yeah, you can do it, but it's not really competitive. You're probably using more electricity than it's worth. Better off to just go buy.
Let's talk a little bit about where Ravencoin is going, as you develop this thing. What's on the roadmap that's coming up in the near future and both down the road a year or so?
Sure. Yeah, so the main thing we're doing right now, the roadmap's been published since about April. And so the main thing we needed to add was the ability to issue assets, and we did get that active. We had to do a hard fork, so we activated that. That activated on November 5th of last year, so just maybe 3 months ago. And then next on our roadmap is the ability to do messaging online now, or coming online. And messaging is the ability to, whoever holds your token, you get an admin token. This is also somewhat unique to our platform. When you issue a token, you get an admin token, and that admin token allows you to reissue more tokens if you've left reissue on. It also allows you to change or increase the number of decimal places in your issuance, not decrease it, but increase it. And then that same token will allow you to message your token holders. The advantage to this is can be used for a few different things. If you wanted to hold a vote, if you want to say, hey, we're switching to this other token, if you want to provide information to subscribers, things like that, you can send a message. The message can be read by anyone if they're monitoring the chain and want to read it. So it's not a private message, but it is a way to get in front of the holders of your token. So the client, meaning we're going to have it in the Android, iOS, Windows, Linux, Mac client to pop up a message for the token holders.
That's definitely pretty handy. Now, it's always an interesting thing, right? Because here we are, we're in the same boat now where we've gotten to the point where Badcoin is about to be relaunched. We've taken it off of the BitShares thing. We're kind of forked off of Bitcoin and Litecoin and Dash, and we're doing some cool stuff with all of that. What was the process like of getting on exchanges? Because when you create a coin from thin air, because you guys didn't do an ICO, you guys didn't do a pre-mine, right? This was a pretty fair launch how you guys had this all set up. You guys are like, and ready and go. And then everybody can start buying or selling, trade. How was that process? Because I know there's some other folks out there who have had challenges of getting on exchanges or getting on good exchanges. And could you maybe talk about that whole process and what it was like, and maybe how do you become successful at getting on some of these exchanges?
Sure. So I think it did start with that kind of fair launch. So very much like Bitcoin, obviously there was more attention paid to it than Bitcoin was when it launched, because there was just a couple of people. But the goal was to basically tell everybody kind of at once. Bruce had talked about it multiple times at I think it was MIT and a couple of other colleges and different talks that he'd given. And then he was able to kind of tell people it was coming via his own followers on Twitter, et cetera. And then when we did launch, that was kind of told everybody at once. And then we had kind of held the binaries. We had started up the seed nodes in non-mining mode, and then no one was able to get the binary, including us. So one person was able to put it out out for download, and then we kind of let everybody know where it was. And so it was the only way to get it was via that download. I was kind of too busy kind of making sure it was a fair launch to be able to mine, so I wasn't able to get in those first blocks, but I do know a couple of people who were. So it was a very fair launch. So it really started with that. And then when we went to get it on exchanges, one of the early decentralized exchanges, specifically CryptoBridge, put us on there. And we were looking at a couple other decentralized exchanges. We had some OTC trading going on in Discord and Telegram. That ended up, it worked well sometimes, and there was some people doing escrow, but there were some people that were ripped off. All right, that just came in. They were excited to get the coin, and they got somebody giving them a fantastic price. You send first, and so they get ripped off. So we needed to get better ways to trade, and so we were contacted early on by Bittrex, and the community had reached out to them, and there was enough people, enough demand for the coin that they said, we want to get this on there. And they wanted us to sign some stuff. And part of what we're doing is we don't want to be the central authority other than just to kind of be the ones vetting the software and putting that out there. So we did actually find someone in the community that could do that for us, and they've been great. And then Bittrex came back and said, you know what, we need a letter that said this isn't a security, because that was the big thing at the time, right? The SEC had come out and said, hey, these exchanges shouldn't be trading securities. I said, okay, great. How do we do that? And they said, well, we need a letter from an attorney, and not just any attorney. We need a securities attorney to say this isn't a security. He said, well, it's not. It's a copy of Bitcoin. I said, we know that, but we need you to get it. So we said, all right. So we went on a search, and we find out that actually this community member went on a search and found out that to do that, you're kind of putting, to some degree, your firm on the line. And so there was a cost to it, a fairly significant cost, $20,000 to $50,000 was kind of the range. And so funds were raised by the community to pay this, to get a letter written. And 3 of 5 multi-sig was set up, and people's deposited funds, Ravencoin, into this address. And we were all ready to find a securities attorney to do this when we had a volunteer, securities attorney out of New York, very, very graciously donated his time, very, very pricey time, to writing a letter, very well written letter. It's on our Wikipedia. It's a Google Doc that you can see all the editing history, and wrote up this letter that says why it's not a security, and went through the Howey test and all the different things that you do to determine whether it's a security or not. And so from that, we ended up getting on Bittrex. And so that was great. And that kind of broke loose a bunch of others once they saw that, put us on some of the smaller ones. And then last October, I want to say October 12th, I was going to speak in New Hampshire. And I saw a tweet that morning, and it said that Ravencoin was going to be added to Binance. And I didn't believe it. I'm looking at this, and it just seemed, like a pump and up kind of some fake type of thing that somebody was trying to do. And it took me 15 minutes to figure out that it was real. There was blue check mark. It wasn't a graphic. I'm checking my Twitter account from different things.
Right.
So finally figured it out. We actually were on Binance. CZ tweeted out about Ravencoin. You can go find that. It's in the history of our coin.
Did you guys have to pay them or anything, or they just did it on their own?
Did it on their own.
That's really interesting because we hear from a lot of companies that they're charging a stiff premium in order to get on that exchange.
Yeah. And I can understand that from an ICO that raised a whole bunch of money. We just didn't have those kind of funds, right? Anybody who's invested, including the developers and people, have either mined or bought it. So there is no bucket of funds that were reserved for marketing. So I got to announce that at the Ravencoin meetup in New Hampshire. So that was really exciting. So that's kind of the history of being on exchanges, and it's been great. And then for a while on Binance, we had higher volumes than every other pair, including the BTC-ETC pair, the BTC-LTC pair. We had the highest volumes for like a week over everything on Binance. So that was kind of fun.
What led to that, do you think?
I think a couple things. One, it just kind of broke loose people finding out about Ravencoin. And I think as it moved, we moved very rapidly from about the 250th coin up into the top 100. And even during that week, we were climbing the top 100. I think we got to like 50th or something. I think we're still top 100, but we climbed that ranking very, very fast. And I think it was just people seeing it move up. And so there's more people buying, and I think it just fed on itself. And we had days during that time where our volume exceeded, our market cap. It was crazy. I think we had $140 million of volume or whatever, $120 million market cap on one of the days.
And how soon was that after your launch?
So after the launch, it was about 10 months. We launched on purpose on Bitcoin's 9th birthday on January 3rd. Mm-hmm. In our Genesis block, we have an article from the same publication that Bitcoin's Genesis block has an article from the London Times. And it was specifically an article that talked about Bitcoin. And we found that on that day from the London Times. It was amazing. So, we've got all these parallels. Also, our paper that Bruce had written had come out on October 31st, same day as Bitcoin's paper. So, some of this is just that we did on purpose for fun, but it has a lot of parallels. We're trying to keep that fun, early, that fun early feeling that Bitcoin had, and try to keep that alive.
So where are you building your community online then?
So right now we're on 3 different platforms. We're on Discord, which probably has the kind of the largest amount of people there. We're on Telegram, and we're on a new new platform called Sync, SYNQ. And it's a new one that's a little bit like Slack, but it has some features that are crypto, for crypto. So we're on all those platforms. We don't run the communities at all. So we have moderators from the community are running it. We had some early fits and starts because we weren't running our community. We had some early problems with that, but we're still just allowing the community to run the community. So that it's not centrally controlled. We do have to make sure that bad stuff doesn't get into the GitHub. So we do have control over that. But for the most part, we're just issuing the code, creating the code, making it available, making sure it's safe, fast, but the community's great. So there's just amazing people in there, and they'll help you out. It's very friendly. If you have questions, they'll answer them. Every once in a while, developers will jump in. We'll answer questions. We have a bi-weekly meeting of the developers, so the developer community, which is some of it's here, some of it's in Morocco, and we'll just answer questions, whatever people want to answer. And we'll usually have a couple of topics we want to cover about what's happening with the roadmap and what's next. That's on Fridays every other week. So if you want to join that, and we do it through IRC chat, but it's also replicated through Discord, so you can use either one.
Very good. There's a lot of stuff going on with this. It seems to me that, because you guys sort of took the old school route of, hey, how would Bitcoin look if Bitcoin came out today, knowing what we know now, right? 9 years after the fact, essentially, right? And, because if you look at it, you don't want the Jihan Woos of the world up there taking 51% of the hash rate and actually making it more of a centralized coin, which is sort of what happened over time with those big, powerful computers. And I think that was the one thing that Satoshi really overlooked, maybe some scaling stuff, but I don't think he thought anybody would be able to gain so much power over it all because of the speed of the computers. But let me ask you this then, as we're moving forward in the world and quantum computers are coming down the road and things along those lines, how do you think quantum computing is going to impact the crypto world as a whole?
Yeah, so I've been asked that question a few times, including in a meeting I was in front of a bunch of lawyers and judges in Connecticut. And so my thought on that is, if quantum is able to get to the point where they can get enough qubits to kind of break or reverse engineer or whatever, solve backwards this hashing. So you can say, just give me an algorithm that says, give me a low hash that solves backwards through this thing. When that gets broken, I think crypto is going to be the least of our problems. If they're able to get that, which there's no guarantees. Pretty much all crypto breaks kind of at the same time. You have the ability to break RSA encryption and things like that. So I think as we get close to that, or if we're worried about that happening, I think people are going to start coming out with quantum resistant algorithms. There's also, and this is just what I've heard, so just passing it along. But as long as you reuse, as long as you don't reuse addresses, meaning you put a different address every time, meaning when you send to somebody, they choose a new address. When you send change back to yourself, you use a new address. Bitcoin, and therefore by extension Ravencoin, is fairly quantum resistant. It's actually quantum resistant. It's only when you reuse addresses that it becomes a problem.
I see. Very fascinating. Yeah, I got to commend you guys. You guys did an amazing thing. You launched this coin. I've been fascinated by it. And especially after we were, started doing research where we were building our own. When we started, taking Badcoin and kind of doing the relaunch on Badcoin, Marshall Long and his team, we're having some chats with him, and he goes, there's some Ravencoin, and Bruce Fenton had kind of done some stuff. And then I was like, because I hadn't done any research up until then, but we had the idea around, Bitcoin is, it's scalable, but I don't like the fact that, it can be so centralized by just a few amount of people. So what we wanted to do is make it so only people with bad computers can mine, right? So even if you have a Pentium 1, then you're going to actually be able to mine at a more effective rate than somebody who has a GPU or an ASIC. And in fact, if you have an ASIC, you're going to be de-incentivized to mine at all, because it's going to be the reward gets slowed down and you actually get a much smaller reward. So people can't go out and build big warehouses full of computers to try to mine the stuff. So that was kind of the thing, is making it fun, bringing it back to the communities, allowing them to sort of, create a mind of its own. Now, what are some of the use cases now this coin's been out for a year plus? What are some of the things that people have been, using the coins for? Are they primarily using it as an asset exchange, and they're buying and trading it and selling it on exchanges, or are there other use cases that they're using the Ravencoin for?
Yeah, so the Ravencoin itself, just the token, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that's been trading for a while, and it actually provides the protection of the network, a kind of a tradable asset people speculate on, just like Bitcoin. As far as the assets being created, we've seen some really interesting use cases. We've had a company here in Utah that puts together financial vehicles in other countries, splits them up, sells them to accredited investors. They're interested, and they registered a whole bunch of assets on top of Ravencoin. They wrote news articles about it. Tokenized EU's come out and said they want to use Ravencoin for their projects. We've got some internal projects here that are using it for different things, for certificates of authenticity. We've seen people actually print the private code on art and have a certificate of authenticity. One of the things we have, unlike other coins, we actually have one called a unique token, whereas if you create the token and has a hashtag in it, there can only be one of them, just only one non-divisible token. And so people are using that for certificates of authenticity. We've seen another company that's planning on doing a whole kind of stream of, like, we're going to create your LLC, your legal documents for your company, and then create an asset that kind of represents your company. So lots of different. We've seen another one which is using unique assets that are tied to precious stones. And then certificate of authenticity for precious stones. So we've seen lots of different kind of unique use cases that are kind of showing up, games and things like that. We have an asset viewer. If you go to ravencoin.asset-explorer.com, there's an asset viewer. And so people have created over 16,000 assets since November 5th, so in the last 3 months. Burning, so there's a cost to it. You have to burn at least 500 Raven to create an asset. So people have created these assets. Some of them just kind of name squatting, but some of them are real projects. And then each asset you create, you can link to metadata, so information about the asset, and that metadata goes in IPFS. So it's a kind of a permanent store where you can't unlink the information that's in the chain with the data, or if you change that, it's unlinked. So you're kind of guaranteed that the person that created the asset was the person that created this metadata. And so people have created PDFs and pictures, and people are even attaching assets to full movies. And so these movies are going in IPFS, and in the Asset Explorer, you click on the token name and then click on it and watch the whole movie. Just shows up in the browser and starts playing. So sort of an unexpected thing, but there was kind of no size constraint in IPFS. So people are doing interesting things with that.
You guys can check this all out. Ravencoin.com and ravencoin.org is where you'll find the white paper, community resources, and more. And Tron Black, thanks so much for coming on Bad Crypto and sharing with our bad audience all the bad stuff you got going on.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Great dude. Oh, my God. Like, that he's a sharp guy when Patrick Byrne, who is the head of Overstock and Medici Ventures, hires him as the head of, development for all of his blockchain stuff. So that's a pretty good pedigree right there. What'd you say?
And speaking of Patrick Byrne, we have secured another interview with him. This will be the third time that he's on Bad Crypto, and the timing is fortuitous because T0 is officially launching. And Mr. Travis Wright, guess who else has said that he would be on Bad Crypto?
I know the answer. Do you want me to spoil it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, my brother, Dr. Craig Wright, is coming on the show. And he said he's going to share the wealth with us. He's going to, since I'm a member of the Wright family, he's going to hook us all up with what's the Bitcoin fork? He only has the Bitcoin Cash SV, I think, right? Yeah. He's not giving us any. But it's going to be amazing to talk to the guy. Are you serious?
Yeah, he did claim to be Satoshi Nakamoto at some point, one of the originators of Bitcoin. So that's coming up soon. Other interviews coming your way as well. Yeah, and if you've got some questions for Craig Wright, then go to the Bad Crypto Mastermind, and we'll have a post there that you can post them on our Facebook page at badco.in/mastermind, or write us at badcryptopodcast@gmail.com. And we just did a great interview with Michael Turpin that you guys are going to want to tune into. Oz Sultan is going to be back with some really insightful information on the security of your phones. Dudes, we got lots of great content coming up, and we're glad that you're here for us to share it with you.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. There's some other people on the works that are getting on the show as well. So the content we're bringing you guys is we're trying to bring you stellar content. Even though crypto market goes up, crypto goes down. We know people get angry and sad when crypto market goes down, and that's part of the whole deal. But we're bringing you the best content we can, and we're going to be meeting some really interesting people here coming up over the next couple of months and bringing you guys great interviews.
We're here for the long haul. Stick around, don't cry, and stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.
What does your morning sound like?
That's Daddy's little man.
Morning, Daddy. Grabbed your usual from Mickey D's.
Here's to making your morning routine a little better with a delicious breakfast from McDonald's.
Start your day at McDonald's with a refreshingly bold, large McCafe iced coffee for just $2. Price and participation may vary. For a limited time, cannot be combined with any other offer, any combo meal.